This is a question from, I have to scroll all the way over to find their name. This question comes from Nikolai. Nikolai asks, I need to practice speaking early. Can I still use Refold? To make it short, I am going somewhere where there are a lot of people speaking in my target language, and I want to be able to talk with them. Less than 6 months into the journey, how can I practice my speaking but still hold with sort of Refold values and the processes and things, and they're learning Russian if it makes any difference?
Yeah, so we actually don't reject early speaking. We just don't think it's particularly efficient in
Yeah,
terms
that's
of
the primary
the
thing.
process. So, early speaking, it's not that it's a sin per se. I know there are some people in the community that like shun it, and they're like, "No, you're not allowed to do it." It's like, no, you're definitely allowed to do it, and you should do it if you want to, especially if you have an opportunity to like go and speak the language. You, in the situation that you're describing, you 100% should be practicing speaking so that
Yeah.
you can actually go and do that. So it's not so much that we say you can't. It's just if you're going to do it, we want to make sure that you are also doing a good amount of input as well to
Yeah,
have that as
that's the key.
yeah, you need to have this counterbalance to your output. Otherwise, if you just focused on output with no input, which a lot of learners do, you're going to hit a ceiling very quickly. Now I know that internally Clayton just wrote a very detailed guide on how to integrate output into the methodology if you need it, and we released that
From day one.
Yeah, from day one. We released that to our course customers. But do you want to give a quick summary of what's in that?
Yeah, so the guide goes over first, like, why do we call it speaking early? What are you potentially risking, that sort of thing? And there's a couple of like tips and tricks about like, okay, you're going to have miscommunications. You might have some psychic damage from not being very good yet. But if you can be okay with that, that's totally fine. Then we go over like some basics of language hacking, and then getting into some things like memorizing phrases from a good phrase book. Those are still made today, and they're still quite nice. You can memorize some good phrases that are actually very useful. We recommend using Anki for that kind of thing. You can also hack some grammar by learning the set patterns. So if sort of like Mad Libs is the example we give. Like if you memorize the phrase like after X, I will do X. Like those sorts of phrases, you can just kind of Mad Lib in anything you need and make an understandable phrase. So things like that are really useful. Then we have a whole section in here about like, you still have to learn vocabulary and immerse. So like do that. You still need to understand the language or else this is all pointless. Then there's a bit in there about pronunciation and accent, right? Trying to learn some of especially the most important parts of the pronunciation for the language, because if you've ever had a conversation with somebody who has a very strong accent in English, even if you're trying to understand them, sometimes you just won't understand what word they're trying to say, no matter how hard you try. I taught English for a while, and I could not figure out why my student was trying to buy rocks for so long. We had a whole conversation. He's like, rocks. And eventually he was trying to say rugs. And I just didn't get it. I was like, why are you buying rocks for your living room? Like, I was so confused. And like, I was really trying to meet him at his level. Like, I was really trying to not do that.
No,
So,
I have this problem all the time where I will be talking to somebody whose second language is English, and it will take me a good 5 minutes or so to get used to their accent so that I can really start to understand them at the level that they want to be understood. And it requires like rewiring my expectation of their phonology.
yes.
And that's just a huge amount of mental effort that you have to go through. So anything that you can do to reduce that mental load on your speaking partner. I was about to say interlocutor.
Language.
Right. I mean, that word is also an English word. Yeah.
Interlocator?
Yeah. Anyways, but anything that you can do to reduce the burden on the other person talking to you to try and understand you is a win. it'll just help the conversation flow. So having like doing some accent practice to make sure that you're actually like not butchering every single sound in the language is pretty important.
Again, you don't have to sound like a native speaker, but clearing up the harder ones or the like especially vowel sounds. If the language functions a lot on vowel sounds, if your vowel sounds are bad, it's super hard to understand because that's often what we pick up on.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
So there's a bunch of different pieces to consider, but generally what you're aiming for is you still want to be able to understand the other person.
Absolutely.
So input is key. And you want to make sure that they're not working too hard in trying to understand you. And then, so accent pronunciation is important. And then the third is for figuring out like actually what to say. You want to keep it simple. You don't try to be like super high level fluent. Just keep it simple. Pre-packaged phrases or structured phrases are like they're going to be your best friends. And then rehearsing, like practicing the same conversations over and over again is a very easy way to ingrain at least the basic patterns. If you're going to like a conference, you're going to have the same conversation 10 times, 100 times, whatever it is. So being able to just like off the cuff say that thing will enable you to get into deeper stuff later, and you probably will struggle when you get into the deeper things, but that's kind of normal. So yeah, those are sort of the things that we would prioritize if you really need to speak as quickly as possible.
I want to make a video on something I call the in my mind I call it the italki sprint, but I can probably come up with a non-branded name. But it's where you basically schedule a bunch of lessons, either days in a row, hours in a row, like really in a short time frame, and you do the same thing every single time. Just like a hello, my name is, this is what I do, conversation, like 10 times in 5 days, just to really get those reps in and get really good at that one thing that you're going to use a lot. And it's also kind of fun if you do it like maybe 5 times. It can be pretty enjoyable because by the 5th time, you're pretty good at it. And you're like, damn, I'm so good at this.
By the 6th time, you're bored.
Yeah, exactly.